All right. Good?
Let's go.
There we go.
Here we go.
How long, Jimmy?
As long as we were out of town.
It's gonna be a long time.
Running it. Run it and run it and run it and run it.
All right.
That was as long. Right there.
No, it's still going.
Okay, hit it.
Okay.
That was longer than the AJ Fed fight lasted.
No way.
Short. Quick.
Snitches get stitches.
Snitches get stitches. We got to decide.
That's the title of this video for sure.
Yes, we got to decide. Are we...
Who are you? Team AJ or Team Fed?
I'm team neither. I like them both, to be honest with you, but we'll talk about that.
Okay. Welcome back to another episode of King of the Court. We are back here in our grandiose studio.
Grandiose.
We are back recording, and so we are going to get to it. This one should be a great episode. It's going to be a long one with hopefully a bunch of content in it.
Yeah.
First and foremost, we'd like to give a big shout out to our sponsors, especially our title sponsor of this episode, The Pickler. Who are they? I was about to say George. Jimmy.
You're thinking about The Pickler. Hey, George wishes he was as handsome as me. The Pickler is the #1 indoor pickleball facility in the country. Hundreds of locations coming soon. We talk about The Pickler.
They're franchising, so if you're interested,
yes,
go check them out. They also have an e-commerce platform. If you are needing to buy another paddle or get a gift for somebody for the holidays, go check them out and use code KOTC at thepicklershop.com. It saves you some money, supports us, and supports them.
It saves you so much money we can't even say.
Exactly.
Because of something that
MAP pricing.
MAP, yes.
Okay, awesome.
Right.
So, real quick, Jimmy.
Yes.
We both, shockingly, were back in Dallas this last week.
Yeah.
This guy over here to my right, he says, "Hey, I'm flying in. Come pick me up at the Dallas airport."
No, I said DAL.
Dallas airport, okay?
DAL.
Okay, there's one major airport in Dallas.
No,
Dallas
wait.
Fort Worth.
Wait.
There's one major airport in Dallas, correct?
There's 2 airports.
There's one major airport,
yes,
correct? Okay, everybody flies into DFW. This guy says Dallas.
No, I say DAL, all caps.
Uh-huh.
I have the text. They're all caps.
I show up to the airport, Dallas Fort Worth. I say, "What terminal are you at?" He says, "I think there's only one terminal."
Yeah.
And then he said, "Oh, shoot, are you at DFW?" And I say, "Yes." And he says, "Oh, I'm at Love." And I say,
20-minute difference.
25 minutes. And I say, "Uber to the place you're going to. I'm not driving over there."
Yeah, that was mean.
You got to specify.
And then you started ghosting me. I text you and you didn't even respond. Like you needed a minute.
I was livid.
You were livid that you had to drive 20 minutes out of your way.
How can you not specify? Everyone flies into DFW.
DAL. That is the airport code. I'm sorry that I'm very specific. And it was all caps.
Not one person will ever fly into Love.
Well, it wasn't my fault. I didn't book that flight, just to be clear.
Yeah. You better start booking your own flights.
I should. And then I would be flying Delta first class.
Exactly.
Kidding, I wouldn't, but...
Anyways, just for FYI, for all those people needing to pick up people at airports, make sure you specify exactly what code, what airport you're flying into.
Well, you know the worst part about Love?
That nobody goes there?
Well, that's one of the best parts. It's actually nice, honestly.
Okay.
But to get to an Uber is like a mile walk.
Ouch.
It is so far to get to... You have to walk so freaking far to get to an Uber. Okay. Like you could have been there to pick me up.
All I'm saying is if I have to pick you up again at another airport, specify the airport.
Okay. I'll share my location when I get there.
Yes.
I did share my location, actually.
That's how I found out that you were 30 minutes away.
My bad.
All right, moving on. All right. First and foremost, we want to give a big shout out. So we have some people who donate money with questions and some people who just kind of donate money to the channel, to the videos. You can do that by clicking the $ and clicking it. It should be in the right-hand corner. But we had somebody do that, and his name was Doug Wilrett, and we want to give him a big shout out.
Shout out to Doug.
He typed in a question, but somehow I can't find that question.
Oh my gosh. Really?
But we will.
Does Doug get a refund?
I don't know how to do refunds on that.
Doug, if you want a refund, let me know. I'll Venmo
we apologize.
you.
If you want to submit that one question that you submitted earlier, redo that, and we will answer that in the next episode. But thank you for donating to the show. Also, if you have not yet subscribed to this channel, please do so. It helps us. It helps us create more videos like this. All right. So the past week, pretty busy, pretty chaotic. Lots of pickleball. First and foremost, we're going to talk about PPA Nationals. So this was in Dallas, and they had a beautiful venue, beautiful setup for the pros. The amateurs was a little bit different. Did you see the amateur layout where they played?
Yeah, I did. It was interesting, I'll say, because there's 3,500 amateurs that were playing. And so you're trying to fit them, right? Like if you can't have like, you know, that picture that everybody shows in Cincinnati of all those courts like in a row and they kind of look like they're starting to curve.
Yeah. Like
you can't do that, you know, when you're trying to fit 3,500 amateurs.
Yeah.
So all the courts are kind of converted. And so it makes viewing a little bit difficult.
Yeah.
One thing that the PPA did do is they had they had this truck. It was like a Monster Energy truck, diesel, and it converted into like a platform.
The Travis Matthews?
No,
truck?
It looked like the Travis Matthews one, but it was a Monster one too.
Just for viewing?
Yeah. And so you can go up on top of it and you could view all the courts.
Yeah.
But it did make it difficult. The indoor courts seemed like they were fine for viewing purposes. I mean, you played on them a couple times. I mean, there's lots of talk about nationals. Like we can get in this really quick about amateurs. I've seen good and bad.
Yeah.
I've heard complaints about the bathrooms. I've heard complaints about, you know, the viewing experience, complaints about all these things. But then I've also heard people say that they haven't ran into those issues at all.
Yeah. I mean, most people know if you're on the internet, all it takes is one or two people to create some drama and everyone will pile on.
Yeah.
And also I've said this before, but if you're comparing this nationals to Indian Wells, it's a downgrade.
Well, it is because Indian Wells is set up specifically.
And PPA and I would imagine USA Pickleball have admitted to that. They know it's not the same quality, same standard that.
Well, I mean, Indian Wells is built for this.
Yeah.
I mean, for tennis, but it's easy to convert because they have all those stadium courts, right?
Yeah.
So it's a lot easier to do it in Indian Wells. However, Indian Wells wasn't an option. It wasn't going to work out. And so I think that they ended up, you know, moving it to Dallas, and considering all things considered, I think that they pulled it off.
I think there's pros and cons about both for sure. One of the pros that I liked with Dallas is that the layout was really nice. The Pickleball Boulevard was really cool.
So that's the thing. Pickleball Boulevard was amazing.
Yeah. Indian Wells did not have that. They try to do something similar to that with vendors, but it's just so big that it doesn't have that same feeling.
Yeah. Pickleball Boulevard was awesome. Obviously I can only speak to my own experience, but I really enjoyed Pickleball Boulevard. The comedians needed work, but
tell us some of so they had comedians just doing
there was a guy
stand-up comedy.
Let's talk about this. There was a guy and he walked up and he was a Hispanic guy.
Okay.
And he walked up and he was wearing, I'm pretty sure it's a wig. If it wasn't a wig, he's got great hair. And he's wearing like this 1980s jumpsuit and he puts a cigarette in his mouth.
Okay.
Okay. And while
do you support cigarettes?
I mean, it's weird. Honestly, the weirdest thing is when I see people smoking cigarettes, it's weird to me because it's like, you just don't see it as often anymore.
Yeah.
Right? Like, I don't know. I mean, you just don't see people, maybe vaping but you just don't see people just straight up smoking cigarettes very often.
Yeah.
And so he has a cigarette. He's standing on the stage and there's a lady on the loudspeaker throughout the venue. And she'll be like,
announcing matches,
what courts. And she'll be like, Karen Smith, please report to court M48. This guy stands up there. And every time this lady would say something, he would be like, Karen Smith, M48. And then puff off his cigarette. And then he would stand there quietly. And then she would say something else. And he'd be like, Jeff Lopez, G64. And then he goes, get used to it. You're getting 12 minutes of this. And he did it for 12 straight minutes. That was all he did. Tyler,
that laugh is pretty scary.
that was all he did for 12 minutes.
You're giving everybody nightmares now.
No, but that was what he did. And I was sitting there and I was like,
were you laughing?
well, you laugh uncomfortably because you couldn't help it. But I literally thought, like, is this really happening right now? Is this guy's act?
Yeah.
And he did. It was 12 minutes of him literally just repeating what the lady over the loudspeaker said.
That's incredible.
And then being like, and then puffing on a cigarette.
That's incredible.
It was unbelievable.
Yeah.
And the craziest thing is nobody dared get up to leave because it was just so awkward and so uncomfortable. You didn't dare move.
Dave Fleming went up there for a little bit, right?
Yeah, Dave went up there. Dave was actually pretty funny. Like I caught the very end of it. Dave was funny.
Yeah.
He wasn't bad. But
better than his commentating?
I mean, he should stick to his day job. But listen, it takes a lot of guts to do that, to do stand up.
Sure.
So,
but this was the time to do it, to practice it, because there weren't that many people walking by.
No, there wasn't. Yeah. And this guy just stood up there. The other funny part was there was a dude. He wasn't very funny, but he was a little guy.
Uh-huh.
And he started making, we'll just say jokes about race. I wouldn't say they're racist jokes, but he was just talking about other races. And he was probably a 5'6" white guy. And the number of people that were cringing as this guy was making his jokes, it was pretty unbelievable.
That's funny.
It was pretty wild. And then at one point he goes, I don't date white girls anymore. And then he looks right at Liv Borski and he goes, no offense.
Borski Nation.
Literally just called her out. Anyways, it was just funny. It was a weird, it was a good way to break it up, but I don't know who hired them.
Yeah.
But I don't think anybody got their big break on Pickleball Boulevard. We'll just say that.
Next year.
Anyways.
All right, moving on. All right, so
Pickleball Boulevard was cool. Tournament was cool. I don't know how the amateur side went. I did go in the porta pots once or twice.
Why do you say porta pots?
Porta pot.
Porta potties.
Porta potty is what little kids say.
Oh my! Nobody says porta pot.
I'm a grown up.
Nobody says porta pot. You got called out on that. By
I know, but porta potties? Okay, I went to the portable restrooms.
Okay,
and I never had any issues.
Okay.
With that being said, as a male, I probably didn't have to use it the same as most females, and so maybe I dodged the bullet. But they seemed fine to me. Maybe I got there at a good time. I don't know. But I didn't have any issues with that. I didn't have any issues finding water, drinks.
It's because you were in the VIP all day.
Well, I did definitely spend a good amount of time there.
Yeah.
Because I probably drank my weight in Coke Zero, which is a lot.
All right, moving on. So Nationals. Different format this time around. So for the first time ever, I believe, PPA wanted to try a new format. I think they call it a progression format, where they do singles, doubles, and mixed doubles all in one day, but they only do one of each round.
So Wednesday, round of 32.
Wednesday, round of 32. And you're playing 3 out of 5 games.
And except for in singles, you did 2 out of 3.
Except for in singles. And this was with a Franklin ball.
With a Franklin ball. Yep. So Wednesday, singles, round of 32. Thursday, round of 16, Friday, round of 8, Saturday was semis, Sunday was championship.
Was this good or bad?
So I had really mixed reviews and asking the pros about this. Okay. So for example, Tina Pisnik. Okay. Love Tina Pisnik. Tina Pisnik played with Lindsay Newman and they played with a Franklin ball. Okay. Those are 2 of the best defensive women in all of pickleball.
Yeah.
Their match with Megan Fudge and Susanna Barr, also very good defensively, was pretty close to 3 hours.
Yeah.
I think it was 2 hours and 45 minutes. They started game 5.
That's wild.
They started a game 5 of their match when Callie Smith and Elise Jones started game 1 against Jeannie Arakina and Rachel Summers.
Yep.
And Callie and Elise finished before them, all 3 games before they finished game 5.
Yeah.
And this was after Tina had just played a 5-game match with Deckel Barr against Riley Newman and Paris Todd.
Yep.
So she had played 6+ hours of pickleball that day. So I think in that instance, that's hard.
Yeah.
That's a long day.
Okay.
One thing that Ben Johns mentioned was, and I heard this from a couple other players, is he said, usually when you're playing this late in the day, for example, your match with Rafa Hewitt and Connor Garnett. I mean, what time did we get done? 10:30?
10:30 or so. Yeah.
He said usually when you're playing those matches that late in the day, they're gold medal matches.
Yep.
So it's easier to get motivated. It's easier to.
The only thing I will say with that one specifically was there's rain delays.
Yes.
And so that one was indoor.
Yes, it was. And there were rain delays and other things. And I think that considering the rain delays, they actually did a good job. But yeah, I mean, it's just an interesting format because you warm up for singles, you play your singles match, and then you're done.
Yeah.
And then you wait a couple hours.
Yeah.
I think they started singles at 8 or 10. They started mixed
at like 12
or 1.
And then they started at 3
at 3 or 3:30. Yeah. And if you were the fourth match,
and there's no back draw, none whatsoever.
No back draw at all. If you're the fourth match on that court, right? You know, you could be playing. I mean, you got to imagine if those matches before you take 2 hours, an hour and 45 minutes. You know, and I think they would stack them up like 4 matches total on a court.
Yeah.
You could be waiting
a
long time. Well, I mean, what's your thought on it as a player?
Agreed. I think there's a lot of mixed reviews out there, and I'm also kind of in that mixed review category. I was talking to some people at the PPA, and they like the format, but I think they're going to go to 2 out of 3.
Okay.
And if they did go to 2 out of 3, I think that would make it a really hard cut so that it couldn't go for 2+ hours.
Do you feel like you'd get your money's worth if you go 2 out of 3?
For me, I do. Yeah. I mean, if we lose, we're out. Yeah.
What if they
and then maybe did 3 out of 5 for the semis and finals, or quarters, semis, and finals?
What if you go quarters, semis, and finals, and you go 3 out of 5?
Yeah.
Like progressively, you add.
Yeah.
I think that would be better. Like the first round.
And truth be told, yeah. I mean, most of the time, the easier rounds are in the first round.
Yeah.
First and second. And so, I mean, Ben Johns, he's most of the time going win 3-0 or 2-0.
And that's what a lot of them were, right? Like I said, that Cali and Elise match was over.
But then if you have one match that goes long, then that can really mess up the entire schedule behind it. And so that's what you got to plan for. And then also add into that equation the Franklin ball. Yeah. Franklin is significantly slower than the Dura.
Yeah.
If I had to give it a percentage, which I have no idea, I would give it maybe, it feels almost 20% slower than the Dura.
Yeah, it does. And you can see it's very hard to put that ball away.
Yeah.
You've got to hit angles to put it away. Points last forever. I mean, these are pro pickleball players. They're all really good. Like there's nobody that's not good. I mean, there's some that aren't good at certain things, and so, points were lasting a really long time. Rallies were lasting a long time. And so that extended the game. I would be curious if there was a stat on how much longer games are with a Franklin.
There is, for sure. I mean, you used to use the old pickleball or pickleballtournaments.com, whatever that old
pickleball tournaments,
pickleball tournaments software. And when you were creating a tournament, it would specify, are you using the Dura or Franklin? Because that would adjust the wait times between matches.
Yeah.
So it was built in algorithmically into the software.
Yeah. Yeah. And it clearly takes a lot longer, to play a match with a Franklin. It was just tough to put the ball away. But I think that, it was very mixed. I think a lot of pros that came from tennis, especially the pros that came from professional tennis, didn't hate it because they're very used to it. But the pros that, I think a lot of pros just hated the wait times.
Yeah.
There's a lot of long wait times.
And from what I've heard, moving forward, PPA is going to do this for all I believe their cups.
Yeah, they're cups.
And their majors.
Majors, yeah.
Yeah, like the top 2 tiers or something like that. Yeah.
Yeah, they have a couple of those. So it'll be interesting because the other thing is you got to be there on a Wednesday. And so, for example, I talked to Thomas Wilson. He has a day job. He's software sales. And so, that's a guy that now he's got to take off a Wednesday, Thursday, Friday.
Well, Tuesday. You have to get in there Tuesday.
Yeah, depending on how things go, right? Matt Wright. He's another one that he doesn't play the Utah tournaments because he'd have to leave a day early and it cuts into his job.
Yeah.
So things like that are interesting, but we'll see how it plays out and see, what adjustments, they end up making. So.
All right, let's get into it. Do you want to go into women's singles first? So we'll just go straight to the finals.
Yeah, let's go to the finals. So Annalie played Catherine.
Yep.
Exciting match. It actually just ended less than an hour ago. Catherine Parento had 4 match points.
4 match points.
10-9.
CP had 4 match points.
2 of them, I think the first 2, she actually even got to the kitchen. First one, she tried to hit like this little backhand cut into the kitchen while Annalie was back and she just missed it and put it into the net.
Annalie's tough.
And then And then Annalie passed her on the next one. And then Annalie ends up just fighting him off. And Annalie ends up pulling it out 12-10 in the third.
Not only is Annalie tough, but you were saying this to me privately, she is mentally, mentally tough.
Yeah. I mean, I think she has these outbursts like she's 16 at times. That's a little bit, you're reminded like when she played Tyra and things. Mm-hmm. But on the court, she's definitely mentally tough. The other thing that was weird is she's drinking Coke between points.
Annalie?
Yeah.
Oh, nice.
Is that weird?
Got to get that Coke sponsorship.
Yeah, maybe. But yeah, she was drinking a 20-ounce Coke between the points. But she held out. I really felt bad for Catherine. I think that Catherine played amazing and Annalie just grinded it out at the end. I mean, at the end, they kind of...
Do you think it's mental with Catherine? Or do you just think Annalie is...
No, I just think Annalie just outplayed her in that match. The interesting thing at the end was because obviously they're partners and they had played earlier in the day. Annalie went to celebrate and then stopped, which is again, like maybe this shows a little maturity.
Did she do the throat slashing?
No throat slash. No. Congrats on getting 10 points off of me.
Congrats on having 4 match points on me.
Congrats on getting 4 match points. You still couldn't win.
That would be funny.
Yeah, that would be funny. None of that. She gave her like a half hug. Catherine literally took her stuff and peaced out. And then Annalie kind of celebrated after that. So she waited. And I think that was like, I think that showed a little bit of maturity.
Do you see, who is Annalie's closest competitor in singles?
It's Catherine.
Yeah.
It's got to be Catherine, right? At this point. I mean, unless...
Like we have Paris who's beaten her once, but then she pulls out. We have Tyra who's beaten her once.
She's not playing singles anymore.
They stop playing, but the one that competes against her the most and consistently is Catherine.
I do think that I don't think Tyra has the power or the passing shots of like a Catherine, but Tyra does have the athleticism and the speed.
I think Paris could consistently compete with her at her level if she actually tried.
If they played. And I think that Tyra has the athleticism to match her. But I think that's one of those things where you would literally just have to train singles.
Yeah.
And nobody wants to do it. I mean, J-Dub, so moving on to men's singles real quick. J-Dub beats Jame.
Jame got the first game.
Got the first, loses the next 2. J-Dub says he doesn't train singles.
Yeah.
Says he hardly trains it.
I don't train singles.
Yeah.
I work on my fitness.
Yeah.
But I don't train specifically on the court.
Which is interesting because I think Leia trains a lot of singles, when she was playing. Yeah. And I think she noticed it started to affect her doubles game. So where these guys, it's more the opposite.
Any upsets or surprises in men's singles? So we actually had quite a few upsets.
Chris
there.
Hayworth.
Yep.
Upset Ben Johns. That was moved indoors because of the rain.
Yep.
I mean, and
cheat code playing against Ben, get the match moved indoors.
And Ben came on our pod.
Yes.
Check it out. Yep. And he said that he had an eye issue when he was a kid and the lighting indoors bothers him.
I don't think the lighting was that big of an issue in that facility.
It wasn't bad. Yeah.
It wasn't like some of these other ones that we've been in where there's like...
Well, let's talk about this then.
Okay.
Was the gearbox an issue? Hayworth uses that gearbox paddle.
I don't know if I would say it's an issue, but it was probably a factor.
You think it helped?
Yeah.
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 You played against the gearbox.
Yes.
In your first round.
Yep.
Roman.
Yep.
And every ball he hit.
Insanely powerful.
Insane. I mean,
everyone knows this. I don't think power paddles matter that much, but this paddle, I think, is the highest one.
The counters that he was hitting with that paddle, and he did struggle to control it, and I think it affected them a little bit.
Yeah.
But the counters were crazy.
Yeah.
He hit a counter right at James Ignatowicz's face.
Yeah.
And James moved, and James looked over, and he literally said, "Holy shit!" Like you could hear it before you saw it.
Yeah.
And I mean that paddle is super powerful. So Hayworth uses that paddle. He ends up beating Ben pretty handily.
Yeah, he was playing well. I watched it.
And he did play really well. So it's not. I'm not saying that it's just the paddle.
Is this the second time that he's beaten him or first time?
I think it's the first time, but he's had some.
He had a game 3 with him.
Yeah,
I thought somebody said he beat him earlier this year, but I think it was just a game 3.
I thought it was a game 3. I don't remember him beating Ben. Yeah. But and then he fought. I believe he played J-Dub, and then J-Dub beat him, and it was a really close match there too. I mean, he's a great singles player. Like
but you get that paddle in a top 10, top 15 players' hands in doubles, and you see the counters on that,
Yeah.
that could hurt somebody.
Yeah, for sure. So congrats to J-Dub. Jame is, I mean, he's funny, dude. He was playing and he just keeps it lighthearted. He just had, that first game he played, he was great against J-Dub.
He's got a great story. We're going to get him on the pod.
Yeah, we're going to get him on. He said he'll come on, and I actually talked to him today. And then he just said that, like, after that, you know, you watch that match and J-Dub just got to the kitchen and he was just too good. I mean, J-Dub is tough. So moving on. Mixed
doubles.
So Big Papa J, Anna Bright, your partner, Anna Bright, take on Ben and Annalie. Mixed doubles was interesting because the one thing with this 3 out of 5 format is I actually do think it takes away some upsets. Now, there were still some.
Oh, 100%. Yeah.
We're going to talk about some, but I think that more often than not, the better team prevails in a 3 out of 5 than a 2 out of 3, right?
Totally.
And obviously, the more you extend, if you went 4 out of 7, if you went 5 out of 9, the better team would prevail. Mixed doubles, I mean, I think if you looked at the brackets at the start, you would say Anna Bright, James Ignatowicz against Ben and Annalie.
Yeah, I mean, maybe the Johnsons. But
maybe the Johnsons, and maybe Tyson and Catherine. So Tyson pulled out.
Oh, yeah.
So Tyson played Jame in singles, lost, but he was, just to be clear, this is not a bag on Tyson. Everybody's like,
shocking. Are you
can't
sure?
keep him out of your mouth. I like posted a tweet about it when I heard about it, and they're like, oh, you can't keep him out of your mouth. You're obsessed with him. No, it's a fact that he pulled out. I think that's a big deal.
He's a top player. And so obviously we cover a lot of the top
player
players.
Pulls out, it's a big deal. So Tyson was sick in his match.
He was sick
against Jame, and he pulled out. In fact,
wait, he didn't pull out. He finished the match.
He finished, but what I'm saying is during his match with Jame,
he quit.
He was told, his wife called Athena, Catherine's partner, and told her that Tyson's not feeling well. We're not going to play.
Okay.
So he was clearly feeling sick.
It was during the match
during the match.
Are you sure?
Singles match. Yes, that's what I was told.
Okay.
So clearly he was feeling sick. And so he pulled out of mixed doubles. I think that opened it up. I would say Riley and Paris, you would think had a shot, and they got blasted by Ben and Annalie. Catherine and Tyson, obviously. I actually thought Jade and AJ would have done a little bit better, but I think AJ had some other things he was dealing with.
Okay.
And so they ended up losing to Gabe Tardio and Megan Fudge.
Yeah.
So that's kind of a little bit of an upset, of course, I'd say. And then the other team that I thought would do, we thought the James and Anna would play well, and they did.
Yeah.
And then Tyra and Christian, they battled Ben and Annalie fairly tough. I think 13-11 in game 2.
I'm telling you, I've talked about this before, but a lot of people think these players, J-Dub, Dylan, Riley, all of these top players are the ones that are going to knock Ben and Annalie off. Yeah. I think it's going to be the streaky ones. It's going to be the AJ Kollers. It's going to be the DJ Young. It's going to be these 10 to 20, 25 ranked players that are unique. They have unpredictable shots.
I agree.
I think those are the ones. Ben and Annalie, they have these top 10 players. They have them down. They have their patterns down. They know who to hit to.
Their tendencies.
Exactly.
Yeah. They have like Ben and Colin have that black book.
Exactly.
They know everything about every player.
Yeah.
So Ben and Annalie end up beating Anna Bright and James Ignatowicz in the finals, 3 games.
Okay. But first and foremost, we want to take a moment to thank our next sponsor, C&D Pickleball Nets.
Yes.
They are incredible. Super heavy duty, incredible quality.
No bolts. No bolts. That's what I love about it.
We got to figure this out, but we believe it's a 10-year warranty.
Yes, no bolts, all welds.
We're going to, do you hear that grammar? We're going to take a tour of their facility next week. They are the net sponsor of MLP Pickleball.
Yeah.
Go check them out at bestpickleballnets.com for your next pickleball net.
10-year limited warranty.
Okay, so it is a 10-year warranty on those nets.
Yes. Now, obviously, there's some things, but
use our code KOTC. You can put this in indoor places, indoor gyms, outdoor courts, on your driveway, anywhere. These nets are great. They're not going anywhere. If it gets windy, they're not going to blow over like those flimsy temporary nets.
Yep. Guess what else?
Thank you, C&D. What else?
Made in the USA.
Made in the USA. We love that.
Powder coated heavy duty steel.
Okay.
Indoor outdoor use.
Great.
Yeah.
We love it. Thank you for the support. Go check them out. They really are great nets and great support.
Yeah.
Okay. So mixed doubles. So Annalie, Ben, they win it. So this is like what they're 50th time in a row.
Yeah. I mean, this is par for the course, right? There hasn't been, other than Ben losing in singles, this is what we expect out of every PPA event.
Okay. Women's doubles.
So women's doubles, there was a big upset in the semis.
Okay.
Anna Bright, Jade, Kawamoto.
Okay.
Will go up 2-0 on the brushes.
Wow. So in a normal 2 out of 3, that's over.
Yeah, done. Go up 2-0. Mary, Maggie, dig deep, come back, beat them. Send themselves to Championship Sunday against. Any surprise?
No.
Annalie and Catherine.
Shocker.
Weird, right?
Yeah.
And Annalie and Catherine, I think it was 11-4, 11-6, 11-7 or something. So Annalie gets another triple crown. Wins her, I don't know, millionth triple crown.
She's quite a bit lower than Ben, which I was a little bit surprised on because Ben hit his 100th in Cincinnati, and I was asking what Annalie is at.
Yeah.
And I think she was I think she was around 60 to 70 or so.
I mean, she did choose to play with her mom for a really long time.
Yeah, exactly.
And they weren't winning golds when she was with her mom. Now that she's with Catherine, they've been. So they end up winning again. There's nothing that's like, so there is something interesting that happened though, is Tyra pulled out of women's because she wasn't feeling well. Okay. I saw an Instagram post, Fed and Pablo were both sick and they played their men's semi match under the weather. We know a couple PPA execs that were sick, that went home sick. Maggie Brasha pulled out.
So there's something going around.
That there was a little bit of a sickness going around. And so I think that maybe that had to do with a few things, you know. And maybe some players just weren't 100%.
Side question. What are your thoughts on players that are pulling out?
I think it's tough. For me, immediately, my first instinct is to feel for their partner because I think that your partner is there. They're dedicated their time, their money, they travel, right? And if you're not playing, for example, if you're not playing singles and you're there just to play mixed and women's doubles, right? And say, let's just talk about JillyB for a second. We can talk about my interaction with her. Did we talk about that in the last one?
I don't think we did.
Oh, we'll talk about that.
Yeah.
So JillyB for a second, she lost in the first round of mixed, which is her own fault, right? I don't feel bad for that. But then they did win first round of women's. They're getting ready to play their second round match. It was like a 9:00 match at night. And Tyra pulled out just right before that. Yeah. I mean, I think she texted her earlier, but yeah. And it's Tyra didn't feel well. You can't like knock her for that. She doesn't feel well. But you do feel a little bit for Jill, right? Jill could have probably gone home.
You feel bad for Jill?
I don't know. Let's just say a hypothetical player. She could have gone home the day before, right? I don't know. There's just a lot of things. And obviously Tyra doesn't know that she's not going to feel well.
Yeah.
But then Tyra felt better the next day and played mixed. And she had already played mixed previous in the day.
Yeah.
So I don't know. It's just it's tough because some of these players that are pulling out, I mean, you do feel for their partners for sure. The only thing that I'll say that's interesting, and I'm not going to be a conspiracy theorist here, but I love rumors. Tyson and Catherine are done. They're not playing together anymore. And he pulled out their last game together.
Yeah.
Tyra and JillyB aren't playing together anymore, and she pulled out. Would things be different if they were planning on playing more together?
Who knows? I mean, we don't know.
Yeah.
But my stance on this is obviously if you truly are hurt or you're injured or you truly don't feel well, obviously you need to do what's best for you. Yeah. But I feel like there's a lot of players that are kind of looking for an easy way out that just want an excuse. Or for example, if I was 20% sick or 50% sick, I would still go out there and play. Yeah. I mean, what's the worst that can happen? You get a little bit more sick. Yeah. I remember these words stuck to me, but I was talking to Zane Navratil. This was a while ago during one of the first MLPs, and he had a player on his team that that was sick. And I asked Zane, I said, would you pull out if you were sick? And he said, they would have to like scrape my body off the court for me not to play.
Yeah.
And you don't see that much with a lot of these players.
No, you don't. And obviously we don't know how sick they are.
Exactly. If you truly are sick, then obviously you need to do what's best for you. But if I had a small cold, I'd keep playing.
Yeah. Yeah. It just depends on the level of it for sure. But also, with the amount of money that's coming into the sport, though, I think we're going to see these players with the amount of guaranteed money listen to their bodies more, and we're going to see more of this.
Sure.
I really think that this is.
Yeah, the only thing I could think of is if
It's like the
PPA
NBA.
started to issue fines or something like that. But once again, if you truly are sick or injured, then it'd be hard to enforce.
Yeah, it's like load management with the NBA, right?
Yeah.
Like that's what happens. And so I think we're going to see that more with this, especially with the number of events that are going to happen next year.
Yeah.
How many players are we going to see play maybe one and then pull out, or maybe, so it'll be interesting to see how that works out, because if the money's guaranteed and they're going to get paid anyways,
you don't want to take a chance on
you don't want to take a chance. Yeah. So let's move on to real quick in mixed doubles. There's a funny moment that happened. Speaking of Jill, couple things with Jill. Let's talk about Jill. So we're doing it. PPA,
This is going back to MLP now.
Going back to MLP. So I get there, PPA.
You're doing a walkthrough with Ireland.
Yeah, Ireland says, hey, will you do like a walkthrough of the Boulevard? We'll do a PPA live. Unfortunately, it did not save. I wish they would have saved this, because I would love to clip this part.
Yeah.
So we're walking through the Boulevard, and this is when it's not even open
And let me
yet.
preface this. This whole podcast,
Yeah.
the reason it started 100%,
Yeah.
that it actually started was because I was accused of
She said you're a bad partner, and you rolled your eyes.
Jill Braverman made
Yeah.
some comments about me. And then you responded to me, hey, let's address this.
Yeah.
And then we got together. And so we have her to thank for this.
Yeah, we do. And it's become a great thing.
Yeah.
So we're walking down the Boulevard. Okay. And let me just give a little bit more backstory. So that happened. And then I mentioned on the podcast about this GM sheet that got sent out to MLP GMs.
Yeah. You were leaking private information.
Allegedly, this information, there's no rule that says you can't leak it, but it's kind of one of those unwritten rules. Okay. And there was a little comment in there that Jill had made about basically, and we've already talked about it, so I think I can bring it up again, about how she can hit 1,000 dinks in a row.
Yeah.
And I was joking about it. Well, she got mad, and she went to MLP. And she
legitimately tried to get you fired, canceled.
Tried to get me fired, canceled. She went to Danny.
From your volunteer
From
job.
my volunteer position, yeah. So she went to Danny, who's the pro player liaison. And it just Brooks Wiley. It became a huge thing right before the draft. Yeah. Like literally the day before the draft, I almost
The
didn't
night
go.
before the draft.
Night before.
Yeah.
I wasn't going to go. So that's what happened. She's very aware of the podcast. She's mentioned us on her podcast. She's very aware of who we are. Okay, so now we're walking down the Boulevard, okay? Ireland's filming. I'm walking, I'm talking about all the Boulevard and everything, and it's just JillyB starts walking towards us. And there's nobody else there, just us. She starts walking, and she's literally like face to face with us. And Ireland says, hey, Jill. And Jill says, hey. And so me being the upstanding young man that I am, I decided to be nice. And I said, hey, Jill, how are you? She stares. I said, hey, and we're live. I said, you're the reason. I said, I need to thank you. Because without you, Tyler and I wouldn't have our podcast. And I meant that like sincerely, but funny, but I didn't mean it malicious. And she stares at me, dead straight face, like a serial killer. Like literally, you know how like serial killers are like in the confessional or whatever it is, and they're being interrogated, and they like literally can look right at the cops and say,
yeah,
I didn't do it. And there's blood on their hands.
Yeah.
This is her. And she looks right at me and she says, I'm sorry, I don't know who you are. And I just looked at her and I said, well, this is awkward, isn't it? And then she just keeps staring. And then she's just like, and then I said, okay. And then Ireland was like, you could tell Ireland felt uncomfortable, obviously. So we kind of just start walking away. And then Jill goes, no, really, who are you? And I just looked at her, and I won't repeat what I said, but
say, I'm a nobody.
Yeah. And so then we just left, and I just thought, like, in her defense, she kept a straight face that entire time, which gives me a little bit it's like psychotic tendencies there.
A little bit of pause.
Yeah, a little bit of pause that she can keep a straight face. But yeah, so she pretended not to know who I was, which is fine. That's great. We can stay anonymous with each other.
So she has no idea who we are.
We don't. Yeah,
She might not even remember me.
No, yeah, doesn't remember.
Yep.
So in her mixed match,
Okay.
Can't remember who she played. Oh, Connor Garnett.
Okay.
So she played mixed with Connor Garnett. Hayden is playing with
Brasha?
Was he play with Maggie Brasha?
He normally does.
I think he played with Maggie Brasha. They are battling back and forth, and Jill starts chirping at Hayden. Okay.
And Hayden, he just turned 18.
He just turned 18.
She's 35. I don't know. Somewhere.
Somewhere around there. He just barely turned 18.
Okay.
And I think Hayden hits a ball, it kind of clipped the net, goes past her, and he said something to her, because she kind of started tripping first. She calls a timeout. I guess she sits on the bench, and Hayden walks past her. Mm-hmm. And she says, are we allowed to say it?
Sure, say it.
She says, "You must have the smallest dick, don't you?" Mm-hmm. Just like this to Hayden. And Hayden looks at her and he goes, "I mean, yeah, it's not that big," and walks right past her. Who says that to, first of all,
sexual harassment.
He's 18.
Yeah.
He's a little kid, first of all. Second of all, it was wild.
Yeah.
So he clearly
I heard that story and I thought people were joking.
No, it's a true story.
That's true, apparently.
Yeah, true story. Lots of people heard it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's a true story.
So much crazy stuff happening at these tournaments now.
So Hayden and Maggie ended up winning, I believe. Mm-hmm. So I guess it's not.
What should have Hayden said to her?
Oh, no, I can't tell you what I told him he should have said. I had plenty of comebacks. I'll just say that. He's like, next time I need to call you. I had lots of comebacks. Anyway, so Hayden, I guess, sorry, you got that BSC instead of that BDE. All right, last year would be SDE.
Men's doubles.
Men's doubles. This is where it gets exciting.
Okay, so 3 out of 5 format. Yeah. Where do we want to start?
Well, let's start with you and James.
Okay.
Versus Connor Garnett, Rafa Hewitt.
Okay, so that was a quarterfinal match.
10 o'clock at night.
Yep. Well, I think we went on probably went on around 8:30.
Yeah. You had an insane, I don't know how you pulled this off, but you had an insane commentator.
Yeah, wild.
Celebrity.
I'll have to go back and listen to that.
You haven't listened yet?
I have.
How'd I do?
The girl was good.
Wow.
Ireland was good.
Wow.
Just kidding. The other one was Jimmy. He was commentating my own match.
I did.
I thought he'd be a little bit more explicit, but looks like Big Pickle's gotten to him.
No, it looks like I was given 2 things before I commentated. There was 2 rules that Dave Fleming told me. Uh-huh. 1, don't cuss.
Okay.
And 2, don't talk during the point.
Okay.
Those were my only rules.
Okay.
And I felt like I did a good job. So that match, you guys came out and you and James were red hot. You win game 1.
Game 1, done.
Next game, they get hot.
Rafa gets hot.
Rafa gets
Connor
freaking
gets
insanely hot. And every time you and James go to switch, right, because obviously you're a lefty, Rafa is ripping drives right as you're switching in that transition zone.
Yeah.
It's kind of getting you guys off your game a little bit. He's kind of catching you on that switch, and they win game 2 and they win game 3.
Yep.
So you go to game 4.
So we're down 1-2.
1-2.
Yeah.
And I felt like you and James went back to the game plan from game 1, and you started dinking more middle.
And then James was pulling a little bit more.
James was, yes, exactly. And you guys ended up stealing game 4. I wouldn't say stealing, but you guys win game 4.
Okay.
So then we go to game 5, and maybe one of the craziest points.
There was a lot of crazy points. A lot.
Yes.
Yeah.
But there was insane rallies, crazy overheads. Connor Garnett, his freaking 2-handed backhand ATPs, like the ball's a foot inside the line and he's freaking
He's
ATP.
curling it. Yeah.
Curling it. You're hitting Ernie's. James's counters were just unbelievable. That whole match was insane. Everybody had started to gather around because it was the last match of the day.
Yeah.
And it was one of the most exciting matches, but there was a point, and PPA posted it, and you can hear my lovely sultry voice on it. And Rafa does like a 360, and you guys dig a
typical
bunch of
Rafa
balls.
fashion, yeah.
Yeah, you guys dig a bunch of balls, and like there's lobs, and you hear me go, oh, because I can't talk during the point, but you want to, and then you hear Ireland go, oh, and then we pause, and then at the end, we're like, holy crap.
Yeah.
But that match was awesome. I think that you should go back and watch it. You guys pulled it out in 5.
We did. We had probably 5 match points.
Yeah.
And we were finally able to convert. And so that was exciting. But yeah, it was a great match. Rafa when he's on, he
was so good.
A top 5 player. I mean, his drives are so heavy.
Yeah.
Connor Garnett, he's got great hands and he's got that backhand. So they were a tough team. They're somebody you don't want to see in the quarterfinals.
Yeah, that was tough. And so you guys move on in the semis.
Yep.
And you play Ben and Colin.
We play Ben and Colin.
And you win game 1.
No.
Lost game 1.
Lost game 1. Win game 2.
And win game 3.
Yes. So we go up 2-1.
Go up 2-1 on them.
Yep.
So
and
now
then it was 3-4.
3-4 in game 4.
In game 4.
And a ball deflects.
Then we had a lot of momentum.
Ton of momentum.
Yep.
You, like, in the words of the self-proclaimed smartest man in pickleball, Tyler Leung is about to break the earning record.
Okay.
Because you were earning every single freaking ball from Ben.
He said that?
Yeah.
Nice.
You were earning every single ball from Ben. Mm-hmm. Your counters were crazy. Ben, every time Ben went for a speed up, you guys were just sitting on him. Mm-hmm. They were flustered. Mm-hmm. They didn't know what to do. Like, I haven't seen the Johns brothers that flustered in a really long time. Mm-hmm. Ever, maybe. And a ball hits Colin off of Ben's paddle, right?
Off of Ben's paddle. So we have this crazy point, and then the ball goes off of Ben's paddle, like ricochets off of his paddle. And at first, it hits Ben or Colin in the face.
Yeah.
And he drops down.
Straight down.
Drops down.
And I thought it hit him in the eye, but it ended up hitting him in the forehead.
Yep.
A wiffle ball.
He was down there on the ground, though, for like a solid 5 minutes.
He went down. Like, he went down harder than Megan Dazan when she got hit in the back of the head with a paddle.
Yeah.
And medical came out. Mm-hmm. And they take a medical timeout. Mm-hmm. And he essentially uses his full 15 minutes. Mm-hmm. And it just kills your momentum.
Yeah. I mean,
not saying that it was, he wasn't hurt. We don't ever want to like make any accusations. Mm-hmm. But
at first I thought it was his eye, and I was extremely worried. I felt really bad, but then I saw it was on his forehead, and I mean, your forehead is pretty strong.
Yeah.
So,
and he was fine.
Yeah.
And he got back up and he finished. And they ended up squeaking it out, I think 11-8 in the third.
They did. They were up 9-6, and we go for a run of 2 points.
Yeah.
Put us at 8-9. And then James on this third point, James had a overhead.
Yeah.
And I was about to take it, but James had just basically won us the last 2 points. So I'm like, he's hot. I'm going to let him take it. He goes for it, and he hits an overhead maybe 5 feet out.
Yeah.
But had we got that point, it would have been 9-9, and who knows what would have happened.
Your serve?
Yes, with our serve, yeah. But it was a great game. That one went 2 hours once again because we had the medical
unbelievable
timeout.
Match. And then you rushed straight from that game to the airport.
Yeah, I ran straight to my car, went straight to the airport, and caught my plane.
Yeah, insane.
Yeah,
but I mean, you were right there. Yeah, like there's no like you never feel good after a loss, but if you're ever to feel okay, that's probably one of the ones, right?
Yeah. It's just a little bit frustrating because you see the scores, and every matchup is going to be different. You can't always say, oh, our scores was this and that, but you look at their scores with their all the other matches in the finals, semis, whatever. I think they won mostly in 3.
So they went 3-0 in the finals against J-Dub and Dylan.
Yeah. But I mean, they're a tough team.
Yeah. But you felt like you played them tough. You had a chance.
Yes, definitely.
James texted me after that, and he was like, dude, Tyler, like the one thing with you, and I said this as I was commentating, is you're attacking with your backhand now. You're attacking balls that you don't normally attack. Remember that time?
2024.
Remember a few months ago when I was like, Tyler, why didn't you freaking attack that ball? That was fun. We had the replay of it.
Yeah.
Now you flush that.
Yeah.
So one more thing in men's doubles we want to talk about.
Okay.
And maybe it's not men's doubles, but let's real quick, Crown Pickleballs.
Crown Pickleballs.
This is a good segment for Crown.
Thank you to our sponsor, Crown Pickleball.
Because while they're not indestructible, they do last a long time.
They do last much longer than the competition. I love the color, really good color, and they are very economical. Use code KOTC to support us and save yourself some money at, what's the website?
crownpickleball.store.
Yes. Thank you, Crown Pickleball. Go check them out. You'll love them.
All right. The build up, what everybody's really been waiting for. Pickleball.com makes a post. Mm-hmm. AJ Koller was forced to withdraw in the middle of a match. Him and Chuck Taylor had won game 1 because he got in an altercation with Federico Staxrud.
Okay, so give us the rundown. What happened?
So we'll go back to NLP. Mm-hmm. Fed is playing against AJ's team. Mm-hmm. Annalie makes her comment saying, if you would play this well in PPA, maybe you'd win something. Next point, or a couple points later, Fed hits a winner and says, take that bitch to Annalie. AJ gets pissed, basically tells Fed, meet me over here. And you think that was kind of, the end of it, I guess. But then they go to social media.
Goes on social media, and Pablo joins in as well.
Pablo joins in.
And they're both calling each other names.
Clowns and
animals.
Kittens. Pussycats.
Exactly.
And they start going back and forth. And so they see each other at nationals. Mm-hmm. And so we have had several people, like there's an eyewitness account, several eyewitness accounts. There was dozens of people around. So I'll tell you exactly what we were told happened. Mm-hmm. I actually, wildly enough, I saw it from a distance, but there's so many people. Mm-hmm. And then I saw AJ probably 10 seconds after it happened. Mm-hmm. And he looked fine. Mm-hmm. So AJ is walking, Fed's walking. AJ kind of shoulder checks him. Mm-hmm. Okay, like you do when you're like junior high, you walk down the hallway with someone you don't like. They have like a little confrontation. AJ takes Fed, and there's on one side there's grandstand court, and then on the other side there's a fence. Mm-hmm. So he takes Fed, puts him up against the bleachers, basically on grandstand
with his hands, or just with his body. With his hands,
kind of grabs his backpack.
So
and kind of puts him up against the fence.
Okay,
turns and then puts him up against the other fence, and then that was the end of it. Mm-hmm. He didn't throw a punch. Let me just be clear. He didn't throw a punch.
He
did not throw a punch.
Okay.
He definitely was aggressive. He definitely manhandled him. Mm-hmm.
And this lasted all of maybe 5 seconds?
Yeah, it was very short.
Seconds?
Yeah, it was very short. But there are people that said that Fed looked like Fed hit his head when he put him up against the bleachers. There's a railing right there that kind of goes down. Yeah. That Fed kind of hit his head against the pole. Mm-hmm. But as the day wore on, it was like, I was joking about this with somebody, but it was like, AJ killed Fed on center court and his body's still laying there. Like it just kept growing. Mm-hmm. AJ knocked Fed out and it just kept growing and growing and growing. Mm-hmm. And then obviously Pablo heard about it. Mm-hmm. And so now he wants to go after AJ because they're best friends. Mm-hmm. And it just became this big thing. So I asked AJ about it and he's like, oh, we're disagreeing about ice cream flavors. Mm-hmm. Just nonchalant, no big deal.
Another day in the office.
I think AJ was basically just saying, look, dude, you're talking smack. Mm-hmm. There's repercussions for that. And then on the flip side, Fed's like that's not cool.
Yeah.
So
continue.
There ends up being a police officer shows up. Mm-hmm.
So he doesn't just show up. Somebody calls him.
Somebody calls the cops.
So Fed or Pablo, they call the cops.
It was either Fed. I don't know if it's Fed, Pablo, or somebody that watched it.
Okay.
I'm not really sure who calls the cops. Mm-hmm. But AJ, right after his mixed match, has to go talk to the cops. Mm-hmm. So after that, we're not really sure. We just know AJ had to withdraw.
Yeah.
Fed, I believe, went to urgent care to get checked out. Mm-hmm. And he's okay. Mm-hmm. So not taking any stance here, not taking any side. That's what happened with the altercation. What do you think should happen moving forward?
I think there should be some rules set in place that says, hey, if you do this, this is going to happen. To me,
like is AJ being forced to withdraw enough of a punishment?
I think so.
Like one game, like he withdraws from nationals.
I think so.
Like is that?
I mean, no punches were thrown.
Does he learn his lesson?
You abused me more than that.
Oh, that's
just
true.
Seeing me every day.
That's true. Does he he learned his lesson? Like you think that's enough? Does he need to sit out the next tournament? Does he need to sit out multiple?
I don't know.
So we talk about.
I don't want to take a stance on this, but I think him.
So we talk about other sports. Yeah. Okay. The NBA. Mm-hmm. If there's a fight in the NBA, they might get a fine. They might get a game.
Depends on the severity of it.
Depends on the severity. They might throw a punch, get a game or two.
Yeah.
If you go in the stands and beat up a fan, obviously you get a lot more.
Yeah.
The malice at the palace.
Yeah.
But with pickleball, it's not like the NBA where there's 82 games, right? Yeah. So the proportion of the season by sitting out, withdrawing from the remainder of the tournament is probably similar to getting a 3-game suspension in the NBA.
Yeah.
I would say that that's
sufficient.
So I think so. I mean, now, do I think that moving forward, there's got to be some sort of zero tolerance policy with AJ? Sure.
Yeah, but I mean, also, I think there needs to be something done with trash talking. I mean, that's instigating it. There's so much trash talking, and if people are going to talk, you have to expect consequences. You can't just say something and then not expect consequences.
Yeah.
And so a lot of people know that Pablo and Fed, they've been talking quite a bit lately. Yeah. And so they were kind of instigating it, kind of egging on AJ, even though they didn't physically throw a punch. They were saying, hey, come at me. And so, I mean, it gets tricky. But if you're going to talk, you better be ready for the consequences of it, I think.
Yeah, I mean, I think so. Like I said, I totally see both sides of it. Yeah. Like, obviously, we're glad that nobody was seriously hurt, but also, like, I mean, I personally, like, not as a grown up anymore, but I fought people for less probably when I was younger. Mm-hmm. People say stuff, they talk trash, like you feel like, you're a punk if you don't do something to back it up. So,
but to me was, I mean, I don't want to get too much into it, but it's interesting how that all transpired and kind of the reaction afterwards. I mean, you wouldn't think that the people that were really complaining would be the type of people that would complain that much. Yeah,
for sure. And it ended up spilling into PPA employees laps as well.
Mm-hmm. There was a lot more of that. Yeah, it was like a wave that just...
Yeah, just a wave, which is unfortunate because I think that they're, in the end of the day, a lot of these employees, we won't mention any names, but they're there to help.
Yeah.
And they're trying to help.
And some of these players treat them poorly.
Yeah.
Which is not good.
Yeah, which isn't cool and it's not okay. And so when
these employees aren't doing anything to these players.
No, yeah, their job literally is to help.
Yeah.
And so the fact that you're going to treat them poorly when they're trying to help you, that doesn't reflect well on you either. And so, I think the whole thing was definitely, I think it all came to a head. I feel like there's more backstory that we probably don't know. I feel like maybe there's something, in a previous match with AJ and Pablo.
Yeah, we don't know the whole background.
Yeah. And Fed did apologize for what he said to Annalie. Like, I actually was at a dinner that Fed was at the day after MLP, that night that he said that to Annalie, and he was fairly apologetic, and he didn't seem to, he seemed apologetic. He wasn't like he said it to like because he had to. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
He told me that, sometimes he gets too fired up and like he was apologetic.
Yeah. I always think of these other sports, and even within our sport, you look at Ben Johns, you look at Colin, you look at Matt, you look at JW, Dylan. Most of these guys are rarely instigating stuff.
Yeah.
They're not the types to do that. You look at Roger Federer, you look at Nadal, you look at all these top world-class athletes, and they don't have the attitude of what we're seeing in this sport to some degree.
I agree. But you definitely, like, at some point though, you do have to, like, the physical violence can't happen. Like, you gotta keep your hands to yourself. It can't happen if you want to, especially freaking on like literally right in front of center court.
Yeah.
Like, there's fans there. There's,
Yeah.
So anyways, that's what happened there. I don't think we're going to see anything else moving forward with this. I think that they kind of had a come to Jesus meeting and they were able to kind of maybe not bury it with each other, but bury it within the pickleball community based off of other consequences that were,
that's the big one
that were bestowed upon them if they continue. So we will, moving on, kumbaya for everybody. And also there was somebody that was an eyewitness. I'll tell you a funny story. I won't say his name because he did not want his name brought up. But
okay.
I was asking him exactly what happened. Mm-hmm. And he's like, I don't want to be involved. I don't want to be involved. I don't want to be involved. Mm-hmm. And I was like, well, just tell me what happened. Like, I'm just curious, and I had already heard from multiple people what happened. And so I said, just tell me your version of what happened. And so he starts talking and I pull out my phone, like I'm going to record him. And he's like, no. And he immediately shuts up. Right.
Oh, by the way, we're recording this conversation.
Yeah. So that was pretty funny. So anyways, hopefully everybody's okay. We're moving on. Yeah.
Okay. Anything else with Nationals?
No, I thought it was good. I mean, I think that there's going to be complaints no matter what. The amateurs were definitely complaining. I thought, considering the circumstances, it was cold. I'll tell you, it was hot beginning of the week, and then it got really cold.
Yeah.
But I think it was a success. I think
that venue's beautiful.
Yeah.
And with those pro course, the way they were set up, I think that's so engaging for the fans. Like,
the worst part, though?
What?
They're taking it down.
Yeah.
They're trying to get them to keep it up.
Like the whole stadium and everything?
Yeah. So they're trying to get the city of Farmers Branch to essentially purchase it.
Gotcha.
Keep it. and they'll come back every year.
Yeah.
I mean, they already have one in Dallas for next year already planned.
Yeah.
And they'll come back every year, and I think they're actually going to take the whole thing
Well, they
down.
could do even bigger and better.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
That's true.
But yeah, I mean, that was one of the knocks on Indian Wells is it's so beautiful, but all the courts were so spread out.
Oh my gosh, Indian Wells is wild. You couldn't even get to courts.
Yeah. So planning a tournament, you have to have that happy medium of where it's close enough, but there's still enough space. But yeah, so I had a good experience with the venue.
The other thing with Indian Wells is because it's built for tennis, you can only sit in half the bleachers and watch the pickleball.
Yeah,
because you wouldn't be able to see the pickleball on the center courts if you sat like too far down or certain spots. So
okay, questions?
Yeah, let's get into the questions.
Hey, this segment is sponsored by Acacia Pickleball. They make these incredible pickleball shoes. Jimmy, what do you like about these?
Acacia, they're durable. They're comfortable. Biggest thing I'm gonna say is they're comfortable.
Yeah.
They're lightweight. They're built specifically for pickleball.
Yep.
And yeah, I love Acacia. I'm a big Acacia fan.
Love them. Check them out. Use our code KOTC at Acacia Pickleball.
I think they look good too. The all whites look great.
I think it's acaciasports.com.
Yeah,
I apologize. Acaciasports.com. They're great. I've been using them for the past 3 years. Super lightweight, super comfortable. I love seeing people wear these out in the wild.
We had some people at Nationals.
Yeah, we had a couple people.
And they're like, one guy like pointed down. He's like, "Hey, look!"
Yeah,
and he was wearing his Acacias.
Yep. So go check them out. I love the white and gray color. Very, very plain. They match with a lot of different outfits that you might have.
So real quick before we get into questions, I need to correct something.
One thing, I feel like there's lots
of things I need to correct, but we got these keychains. And I posted on my story. And one of them said Mr. Nobody, and one of them had my name. And you got one that said Tyler and KOTC. And I said, I believe it was Meg that gave it to us. Nobody named Meg would actually do something that cool. So it was Wendy. And it was made by her husband, Ron.
Awesome.
From Canada.
You love Canada.
I love Canadians. I want some ketchup potato chips. I need to try this. I will try them on the show. I will chew into the mic and everybody will stop listening, but I want to try them. So somebody send us some ketchup potato chips.
Okay. All right. Moving on to questions. Somebody said, how about APP getting 3 out of the 4 finalists in men's singles?
Yeah, that's impressive. I mean, we singles is the easiest transition, right? Like the one thing that I talked about actually when I was commentating is about nationals is you have APP players there. So the APP players get to test themselves against the PPA players. Unfortunately, did we see any APP players walk away with medals? No.
Yame.
Oh, Yame's not an APP guy.
I would consider
both, but he plays more PPAs than anything.
Yeah.
I mean, he does play some
He's been
APPs.
playing more APPs recently.
But I wouldn't say he's more of a,
And that,
Hayworth, but did he get a medal?
No, he got it. Yeah.
So, but he is an APP guy. Obviously, Hunter Johnson did pretty well. Yates and Christian. Yates took Christian to 3.
These APP singles players, they're good. They're good. Yeah. I've never not said that, but I think if you were to do 10 tournaments, the majority of the time, maybe 7 to 8 of the times, the PPA players.
Well, guess what? We don't know if they're good because they won't stream the matches. So we have no idea how good they are because we only see 6 people, and it's the same 6 people in the finals.
All right. Somebody said, will you be partnering with James Moore? You guys killed it together. I'm in talks with him. I think he's mostly set for a partner next year. But
he just texted me.
Nice.
James Ignatovich.
Oh, look at that.
That's cute.
Yeah. So I'm in talks with him, but I think he's mostly set for a partner. I think there might
Can
be
we say who he's playing with?
I would imagine so. I think most people know it's Matt Wright.
Yeah, he's going to play with Matt Wright.
Yeah, rumors are. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Somebody said, besides pickleball clothes and paddles, what can't you leave home without for a tournament?
Ooh, that's a good question, Tyler.
Charger.
Phone charger?
Phone charger.
We went and found one. I found you one.
Yeah, you did.
That was fast too.
That was lifesaver. Yeah.
That was fast. Also, you know what else I had a lot of players were using at that tournament? Shout out to these guys. That Vulcan powder.
Yes. That Vulcan powder is incredible.
Yeah. Like Hayden, in fact, I saw Lucia walk up to several courts. Like Hayden was like, hey, do you have that powder? And she had it. James started using it. You were using it. Like it was.
I always use it in humid places. I don't really use it in Utah, California, Arizona, but humid places. Yeah.
But that powder was a lifesaver. So
yeah. Somebody said, surely Jimmy's got the details on the AJ Fed thing. We talked about that. Tyler, way to make it on Sports Center. Sweet shot. That was fun.
Your top 5.
Yeah, I think it was
5?
4 or 5. Yeah.
That's pretty amazing. Like that's your second time.
Yes, that's pretty cool.
I want to be on Sports Center.
Yeah, we'll get you. We'll
I
get
need
you
to go
there.
to like, you know, where they do like those like log rolling down the hill, or like they have all the. That's like what I would be on it for. Something stupid.
Indian Wells or Brookhaven, pros and cons for each facility. We kind of touched on this. Indian Wells, you can't beat it. You can't beat the scenery. You can't beat the court spacing. You can't beat the venue.
What's the temperature right now?
Yeah, the temperature.
In Palm Springs.
But I think a lot of the pickleball people, it's not built for pickleball.
No.
And so a lot of people, like the truest, the purist, they didn't love that.
Look at that. 70, basically 75.
We're looking up the temperature right now. It's 75 degrees. So
75 degrees the last 2 weeks.
Tyler, were pros able to use the indoor facility for warm-up practice play for nationals? So actually, PPA blocked off 4 courts for practice, which was really nice.
Indoors, yeah.
Yeah.
And I felt like PPA did a good job of moving when it rained to move you guys indoors. There were still championship courts. There was one side court that a couple matches had to be played on, like in the indoor facility that was actually facing the wrong direction.
Yeah.
But for the most part, I thought they did a pretty good job.
Jimmy was sporting Sunday Swagger at Nationals. New sponsor?
You know, we'll see.
No.
No sponsorship yet.
Not yet. Hopefully.
No sponsorship yet, but they have my number.
Should I read that question out loud?
Wow. Wait. What? Trong?
I think so. When is Staxford going to get reprimanded for foul language? Enough is enough.
So that's another thing that's interesting is, you know, we talk about obviously this fight, right? But there is stuff that was leading up to it. You don't condone physical violence. Mm-hmm. However, I don't like I said, we're friends with both sides, but I don't think that either side was without fault. I don't think you can say that Fed was without fault in this, right? Like, you know, yes, AJ took it one step further, but Fed wasn't without fault in terms of, you know, what started it. Granted, maybe Annalie's bodyguard should have been the one to come on the court.
That would have been hilarious.
Taking care of him.
He would have got a promotion.
Yeah. There's there's a video today. So Annalie wins. And after you win, they take you to the pickleball TV set to talk to Cameron Blackwood and Matt Manasseh. And she's like scurrying through and her bodyguard's trying to keep up. And it is so funny. He's like running and like trying to keep up with her.
Love it. Tyler and James, new partnership for next year. We talked on that.
Yeah.
Let's see. Thoughts on the new format. We talked about that. Since Jimmy was such a celebrity at MLP and Nationals, will he start showing up to more tournaments?
Was I a celebrity?
Apparently.
Yeah. I mean, I had fun. It was a long time to be on the road, but I had fun. So yeah, I mean, I'm planning.
Not all tournaments are like that. That's like 1 to 2 out of a year.
Yeah. I'm planning on San Clemente. We'll see. Like that's the plan right now.
Yeah. Do you think you would have won if Colin didn't get hit in the face?
Yes, I do. I truly believe you would have. I think that killed your momentum.
Yeah, that's a tough question to say. You never know what's going to happen, but I will say we had a lot of momentum at that point.
Yeah.
I was so happy to hear Jimmy commentating on your match. Amazing. Tyler, you're killing it. Thank you.
That's nice. That's sweet.
Let's see. A lot of these questions are about AJ and Fed. Why do fans of other sports like to dunk on pickleball? And why do pickleball players care that they do?
That's a weird thing because whenever something is posted, for example, I don't know if you saw the Scotty Scheffler.
Mm-hmm, yeah.
And they're like, oh, this is Scotty Scheffler's freaking kicking the shit out of the number 1 player in the world.
Yeah.
Like, they're going half speed, first of all.
Yeah.
Second of all, Scotty Scheffler's like a 4.0 at best.
Yeah. He's actually not bad. He's probably a 4.5.
Okay, so even if he's a 4.5, he's not on any level to. Yeah. And it's just really weird. And I just think that people are scared of what they don't know about, and so for whatever reason, they just feel like because they're not good at it, or they think that they'll be really good at it, they just bag on it. And it doesn't even make any sense because if they would actually play it, they would realize,
Yeah.
I mean, there's estimates of 100 million players in the next 5 years. I mean, it's the fastest growing sport in the world.
It's been that for the past 5 years.
Yeah. So if you don't like it now, you better get used to it.
How often do you go through paddles? I probably go through paddles the least amount of pros. I probably switch them out every maybe 2 months or so. Mm-hmm. I know a lot of other players, they'll switch them out once every 3 weeks maybe even more.
How well built Vulcans are.
Vulcans are well built. Yeah. I just get dialed in with the paddle and I don't need to change it too much. Yeah.
Do you use overgrip?
Yes.
You do?
Yep. I do. I actually take my original grip off and just do a very thin overgrip. Yep.
Do you do anything else?
Nothing.
You don't do popsicle sticks or anything like Colin Johns?
Nope. I should.
Colin likes the shape, and I saw a thing where he was doing popsicle sticks.
Interesting.
Is that illegal?
Not to my knowledge.
Okay.
Is it? Do you think, should it be illegal?
I don't think it's altering the paddle to a point where I think it'll affect anything.
Okay.
It's no different than weights, I guess.
Not a question, but congrats on an awesome performance against the Johns brothers. Thank you. Advice on a new unsponsored pro player who is lacking good play around to improve.
So this is funny because I was getting in an Uber to leave the facility, and I talked to a up and coming pro, Mary Monson. Shout out Mary Monson, lives in Utah. Mm-hmm. I think she's 14, 15, 16. She's very young.
Probably 16.
She's 16?
Mm-hmm. 15 or 16.
15 or 16, yes. Anyways, and Mary was like, hey, what can I do to... That's not who asked the question, right?
No.
Okay. She said, what can I do to get partners? Like, I want to play
partners
pro.
Or sponsors?
Well, she has a sponsor, Selkirk, but what can I do to get partners?
Oh, yeah.
And part of that question was partners. And I think that's a really good question. I think the best thing to do is you honestly, you almost have to force yourself into games, right? And you also have to be willing to drill with these people first to kind of show out, because everybody's looking for someone to drill with.
Yeah. I would say drilling. And then my first few years, a lot of people don't believe this, but I played a lot of rec games with low level players.
Yeah.
Number one, it was fun.
Yeah.
And then number two, you're able to implement new shots that you would never practice in tournaments or with higher level players with these lower players. Set goals, say, hey, this whole game, I'm going to win every single point. This game, I'm only going to speed up. This game, I'm only going to drive. And there's a lot of different things you can focus on. And that's the time to do it.
Remember when you played an entire game with just lobs?
Yeah. Yeah. That was fun.
So let me just give you an example. Gabe Tardio. Mm-hmm. Gabe Tardio has been there from MLP, and he was there today. Mm-hmm. So he's been there for 2 straight weeks. Mm-hmm. There was not a time that I did not see a paddle in Gabe Tardio's hand, and he was jumping on every single freaking court he could. Yeah, I saw Gabe Tardio play more rec games than anybody. Yeah, and he's just getting reps in. And I think that you need to do that too at any level, and play with some of them, and you'll get noticed eventually. In terms of sponsors, one, I think you got to build your social media following. Mm-hmm. I think that helps.
Number one, I think you need to be good.
And yes, the second thing is you got to be good. You got a podium. Yep. Right. That nobody wants to sponsor you if your results aren't there. Mm-hmm. Right. So if you're winning 5-0 tournaments,
even at 4-5, as long as you're winning and out there, putting yourself out there. But
if you're trying to get yourself sponsored to play pro, you should be winning 5-0 tournaments at this point. Mm-hmm. And so I think if you go to a sponsor and be like, hey, look, I've got this many 5-0 medals. Yeah. Right. By the way, what do you think about sandbagging at nationals?
So I heard it was very rampant. There was a lot of that going on, but I also heard that they went off of like their duper UTPR, and they weren't allowed to play higher.
Yeah. Some people weren't allowed to. Yeah. Like we know some 5-0s
that had to play in like 3-5 or 4-0.
3-5 mixed.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then we know some other
I asked him, and he said they tried to play and they wouldn't allow him. So
we have, some.
I don't know what you do in that situation.
Yeah. I don't think it's their fault, but we have some friends who literally,
did they win? Do you know if they won?
Yeah, they won. Uh-huh. So they won 4-0 men's, but these are guys that win qualifiers to get into PPA main draws. Yeah. And they played 4-0 men's. Mm-hmm. And I think they were forced to play it. There's 2 women who literally play 5-0 plus, and they play women's pro. Now, they might go 1 and 2, but they still are fairly competitive. Mm-hmm. And they were playing same thing. They were playing 4-5, I think. Yeah. It's crazy.
Favorite memories from MLP and nationals. From nationals, both my men's double, 2 out of the 3 men's doubles matches against Rafa and Connor. That was great, finishing at 10:30 at night, and then going toe to toe with the Johns brothers. We went 5 games with them. That was their closest match the entire week.
Yeah.
3 points away from winning. That was a really good memory as well. MLP winning the Dream Breakers. That was fun against Utah Diamonds, and then also the quarterfinals.
Against Columbus.
Yeah, against Columbus. Yeah, that was fun.
That's awesome.
Let's see. Megan Fudge and Susanna Barr were killing it this week and potential premiere next season. Well, next season, there's only going to be 1 league. And so everybody will.
Oh, not so fast, my friend.
You get some more info?
We got a little bit of a possibility that we may have a challenger and premiere next year.
But will the challenger be like fewer teams? Like
Nope, 12 and 12.
So same thing.
12 and 12.
Okay. This is news to me.
This is not official yet. So this is not any official news. But
So same thing as it is now.
Same thing as it is now, with potential to go back to relegation.
Gotcha. Man, they got to make this known. I mean, this.
I believe that it is supposed to be voted upon in the next day or so.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Let's see.
And it's going to be a little bit different. So we'll see. We'll see how that works out.
You got a team with Big Papa Jimmy after that performance against the Johns. I love Jimmy. He's great. I think he has such a high ceiling.
Oh, huge ceiling.
Not a knock on him, but I'm surprised him and Anna Bright don't do better than they do. Like, yeah. I feel like they should take Ben Johns and Annalie much closer than they have.
Yeah,
been.
they seem like they can get there.
They seem like they have the talent to, but it doesn't seem like they're able to.
Yeah,
convert.
I agree.
All right, we'll finish up with a couple more questions. Sorry. Yeah, somebody said, do you think Megan Fudge and Susanna Barr should be in Premier League?
Here's the thing. Whenever you suggest that somebody should be in, you've got to take somebody out. Okay, so who should not be in?
They were already in the conversations for that. It's not like they were at Challenger. They were on the borderline to begin with.
So, but who do you take out?
That Glosman out.
I mean,
I don't know.
That's the question, right?
Yeah.
Who gets removed?
Yeah, who were like the last 3 picks?
Glosman was the last pick.
Okay, who else was there?
I can't. Who was the last pick? Glosman. I know Glosman was in the final round. It was Maggie Brasha? I think Maggie Brasha was the Sliders' last pick. Mm-hmm. But I mean, the Brashas just freaking made the finals at Nationals.
Yeah.
I think Mary was a 4th round pick for Miami. What was Coop? 3rd round pick?
She was 2nd round.
2nd round pick. I mean, do you take Simone out?
I think Simone's good.
I think she is too.
Especially in doubles.
So the question is really, who do you take out to, I mean, I'm thinking through all the teams and there's only 12 teams. So there's only 24 female spots. And I can't think of anybody that I can't think of a glaring person that shouldn't be there.
Yeah. All right. Last question. Somebody said on Instagram, curious what Tyler and Jimmy's favorite event to watch is and which event they think would do the best viewership numbers if they rotated being on Saturdays.
Like mixed?
I don't understand the ending part, but what's your favorite event to watch, or what do you think would gain the most interest?
So I might be a little bit different, but I actually love mixed doubles. I think mixed doubles is the most amount of strategy. Mm-hmm. Men's doubles is insane because it's just firefight after firefight, and I think it's more.
I think the point women's is more firefight. After
it is
firefight.
More firefight, but men's. But like, look at your match with Rafa and Connor, and look at your match with Ben and Colin, right? Yeah. And it's a contrast of styles.
Yeah.
Right? J-Dub and Dylan and Ben and Colin is different than you and James and Ben and Colin.
Yeah.
Right. But so that's why I think mixed doubles, because when the men, assert themselves and pull the trigger, I think that's when it gets exciting. Yeah. And it's really just styles. It's more styles than it is an actual discipline. Discipline. Is that the right word?
Sure.
Like there's just players that are more exciting. There's styles that are more exciting. I could watch you and James against Connor and freaking Rafa all day.
Yeah.
Like that was amazing.
Yeah.
I could
and one thing to note, being live in these at these tournaments is so different than watching it on live stream. I went back to watch that match, and it was fun. It was intense, but not like being there in person. Seeing the emotion, seeing how fast the ball travels, it just doesn't do it justice.
Yeah. You know, another person who, he's very controversial, but he is fun to watch is Alshon. He will pull the trigger. Yeah. And it makes it fun to watch. So it just really depends for viewership purposes. I also think, though, people love MLP, but it's the same thing. It's still mixed men's and women's. Yeah. So, but the other thing with nationals that I loved, all the people.
People were great. We had a lot of people come up to us.
It's just fun, dude.
Introduce themselves.
That's fun to me. Like,
you're getting soft, Jimmy.
I am getting soft. In my old age.
We need to bring that dog back into you.
There's no dog. I just think that, there's plenty of things we should say to certain people, but yeah, Nationals was awesome. MLP was awesome. It was a long couple weeks. Yeah. If I didn't like you before, I still don't. So don't worry about that. Nothing's changed.
Yeah.
But
thank you for watching this. Hopefully, if you've made it this long, you are liking and subscribing these videos. Big shout out to our last sponsor, Mod Balls. Jimmy loves to eat these Mod Balls. These are the perfect, I almost said treat to have. They taste so good, but these are the perfect pick-me-ups to have with you throughout the day. Yeah. And once again, I didn't have these with me at Nationals. And had I had these, I would have eaten probably 10 throughout the day.
You should have. You probably needed them.
Yeah. I needed the energy. But go check them out, modballs.com, and use code KOTC. You'll love them. Check them out. And thank you to our title sponsor,
The Pickler. Wear this hat in the game?
Yeah, just wear your hat everywhere you're about to hit it. The Pickler, C&D Pickleball Nets.
Yeah.
Mod Balls, Crown Pickleball, and Acacia Shoes.
Yes.
Thank you, and see you next time.
Yeah. Did you know I got kicked out of the Discord?
Oh. Do you want to talk about it?
I got booted. We'll talk about it as we go out.
You got booted out of the Discord?
Yeah.
What'd you do?
Nobody will tell me why.
No, you're still booted?
Yeah, done. Peace out. Nobody will say why.
Do you want to get back in?
I'm over it.
Should we start our new one?
We should start our own Discord, yeah. I'm over it, but it was weird.
Hey, pickleballrumors.com.
Some people don't like sharing their celebrity status.
Some people don't like sharing their celebrity status. We're out.